Nous accueillons donc à Noudi le lionceau du Panchir, le fils du lion du Panchir, que tout le monde connaît, et qui a légué à son fils et à beaucoup d'autres Afghans la mission difficile de poursuivre la lutte. On connaît le caractère fort et coriace du peuple afghan. Nous sommes sûrs qu'il va triompher. Et nous sommes là aujourd'hui pour présenter le livre de Ahmad Massoud qui est intitulé Notre liberté. Quoi de mieux qu'un titre pareil aujourd'hui au moment où le peuple afghan entier fait face à une coalition islamiste coriace. Et je laisse la parole à M. Ahmad Massoud, mais permettez-moi de lire une phrase qui va très bien exprimer l'ambiance dans laquelle nous nous trouvons aujourd'hui. Ahmad Massoud écrit la chose suivante: mes amis, si vous désirez réellement entendre battre le cœur du monde à venir, venez en Afghanistan. C'est là l'un des lieux où il bat le plus fort, bien sûr, et le plus juste. Voilà ce que écrit Ahmad Massoud dans une sorte de préface de son livre. Alors, je vous remercie et monsieur notre invité, à vous.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and good morning. Thank you so much for having us in here with you. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you very much for making the time to be here because our effort in here is to bring the attention, to bring the message, and to bring the story of the people of Afghanistan. You might hear and you might know what's happening on the surface of the society in Afghanistan as of now, like the Taliban, the prisons, the regime, and the women's rights and the women's problems and issues inside Afghanistan. And however, also there are some deeper tensions, deeper problems, and deeper issues exist in my country that I wanted to share today, because those issues and problems, they're not going to stay in Afghanistan, unfortunately. And these are the things that will affect and impact all of us. I believe this is why I came to France after 2 years, because I believe that the France and French people has always championed democracy, freedom, justice, and human rights. In this capital of human rights, I would like to meet with those who believe in the same values, to bring this message that we gave opportunity, not the people of Afghanistan, because from the very beginning, after the Taliban's refusal to talk, we started the resistance, the women and men of Afghanistan, in different shape and form. However, I believe that the world gave enough chance to the Taliban to show that they have changed, to show that they pick a different path than before. But I believe 2 years has passed, and we saw that Taliban not only did not change, but they got worse. They systematically suppressed freedom, women, and different ethnicities in Afghanistan. And however, they systematically supported, gave opportunity and freedom to those of the terrorists who came from regional and abroad. And Afghanistan as of now has become a breeding ground for the international and regional terrorist groups. So therefore it was important to come and to bring this message of the people of Afghanistan, that in darkness the enemy is regrouping and the enemy is recruiting. For example, the Taliban publicly themselves announced that they are going to open at least five jihadi madrasas. I need to emphasize this. Not religious schools or madrasas, no. Jihadi madrasa, which is only to wage war. And each district of Afghanistan, which is making it almost 2,000 schools and madrasas for jihadists, because we have 400 districts. And that's publicly what the Taliban announced. So it means that in 5 years or 10 years, if you do nothing now, there will be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of fanatics ready to be recruited by whoever. As I have the evidence and the proof that African terrorists, Arab terrorists, Central Asian terrorists, regional terrorists like Pakistan and other countries, like TTP and many others, they reside in Afghanistan. They enjoy the freedom the Taliban has provided for them, and the support that the Taliban is giving them, and the equipment the Taliban unfortunately had the opportunity to have their hands on it. With $80 billion of the American equipment left in Afghanistan, the NATO equipment left in Afghanistan, they can 8 billion equipments that which was left to the Taliban. Now it can reach to many corners of the globe. For example, I'm sure you saw how Boko Haram called themselves Taliban of Africa. How they congratulated Taliban for their victory. And how many other terrorist groups around the globe are giving Taliban or making them as an example, a role model for their continuation of war and for their beliefs. So therefore, the situation of Afghanistan is very fragile, and it is very, very serious. And this is why that I wanted to come here after 2 years, that we gave enough time to them to change. They have not. So we need to do something about it. At least to hear the opinion of the people of Afghanistan. And the press is always something which is completely missing in Afghanistan. Many press, many TV stations, radio station, newspapers in the past 2 years been closed by the Taliban and monitored by the Taliban. The news which is coming from many agencies within Afghanistan are completely under total monitoring and management of the Taliban, which cannot be trusted, which is completely biased. So therefore, in such situation, it is very important that freedom of free press and our European allies and friends to help the people of Afghanistan with at least getting to know what's happening on the ground, and also to support the values and the principles we all share. And I'm here, and I'm willing to answer if there's any question. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with my team. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
On va passer dans le sens contre les aiguilles du monde, donc de droite à gauche. Voilà. Si on peut se présenter.
Yes, Frédéric Castel, Radio Canada. Can you tell us what is your best support in the European capitals these days, including France? And is Washington still in touch with you and supporting you somehow?
Thank you very much. Well, I believe that the Europeans in the past at least 1 year, because of the war in Ukraine, they have been very much busy, and it is understandable. It is a very serious case in the heart of the Europe, and especially now that we see a tension rising in Kosovo as well. So I believe most of the attention is being shaped in this sort of region, or shifted to this region. However, we have seen friends in France and the European friends that they have been to some extent vocal about the Taliban's atrocity which is happening, and I know that the meetings they had in Doha, they have been pushing for moderation. They have been pushing for human rights and women's rights. However, still, in our opinion, it is not enough. There needs to be more to be done, and we need to do more systematic pressure and to be add up for a true change, because so far the Taliban have not changed at all, and the people of Afghanistan believe that enough pressure has not been put on the Taliban. Regarding the Washington, I believe that the Washington, because of maybe the election and because of the disastrous back-to-back decisions to make a catastrophic deal with the Taliban, which is the pillar, which is the main reason. Of course, there are many other reasons, but the main reason for the Taliban's elevation to be able to take over the country, to be victorious, and which single-handedly destroyed the morale of our soldiers on the ground, was the very bad deal between the United States and the Taliban, which completely destroyed the balance of negotiation between Afghan side and the Taliban. We have constantly said to our American friends that please do not reach any conclusion. You can have your talks with Taliban, do not reach any conclusion yourself with the Taliban, make it conditional that we are going to sign anything with you when you have signed an agreement with the Afghan side. So we have a leverage of talking to the Taliban. However, when you do that, you are destroying the balance of negotiation and the Taliban won't talk. Because of that and because of the very bad withdrawal, very irresponsible withdrawal, which even our friends in Europe, they have not been consulted with, it all resulted to a situation that I believe until the next election, the America do not want to have a clear Afghan policy. And I don't believe there is a clear policy regarding Afghanistan. And this lack of policy is something that Taliban are truly enjoying.
No communication with the Biden administration on your side?
Not on a very constructive level, no. Thank you.
Question?
Moi, je vais poser ma question
Vice President.
en français. Vous savez, depuis le retour des talibans en 2021, la liberté, la démocratie, tout ça a disparu dans votre pays. Tous les acquis démocratiques que vous avez eus, ils ont disparu. Et l'Afghanistan actuellement est prison pour ses citoyens et plus particulièrement pour les femmes. Est-ce que vous pouvez me parler un peu plus de la situation actuelle? Quelle est la situation des femmes actuellement en Afghanistan? Est-ce que c'est aussi dramatique en 2001 ou est-ce que c'est...
Excusez-moi, de quel média?
Je travaille pour les médias polonais, pour un journal féminin.
Polish journalist. The question is that from 2021 till now that the Taliban take over, the information that we have that Afghanistan has become a big prison for the Afghans, but also especially for the women of Afghanistan. And everything that you have been trying to build before on democracy and freedom has totally disappeared from Afghanistan. Is it what we hear according to information that you have is the same, or what is the real situation now in Afghanistan? Or is it worse?
Thank you.
Especially about the woman, because she's working for women journalists.
Well, thank you very much, ma'am. For this question, it's exactly how you describe it, and even worse. Even worse because it is worse because we are hearing about the women not being able to go to school or not being able to go to work. But at the same time, we are not hearing about, okay, if they are not able to make a living. Because take it into consideration that because of the constant war that the Taliban waged upon the people of Afghanistan, there were thousands and thousands of women who were the earners of a family. They were the single person who were making money for their family. As of now, there are thousands and thousands of families which are not making a living. The Taliban completely stripped them away, from that. Second, yes, the women are being stripped of their rights and not being able to go to schools. As of now, let me tell you something. It's a good thing. Because I'm not worried about the girls as much as I'm worried about the boys who go to the school and learning the Taliban ideology. It's rather for the kids of Afghanistan not to learn anything than to learn fanatics ideology and to learn extremism, to turn into more Talibs. So this is one of the things that I hope the world press and I hope that our friends in the West pay attention. That let's not lower the bar to the point to say, okay, we want just schools for women and we want women to be able to work. Because let's say the Taliban tomorrow says, okay, women can only work, let's say for example, in just health sector, or women can go to school but only to study our curriculum. And then what? Are we going to launch another campaign for no, women are able to work in any industry or sector, or no, woman needs to study a particular curriculum? So it is some of the things which is even more dangerous. On other hand, the situation that the people are at, it's of a horrendous situation. They are suffering not just from the Taliban, they're suffering from the economic pressure, they're suffering from the loss of hope because they don't see any light in the future. And also, one of the biggest reasons for the wave of immigration, it is that of they feel lonely, they feel abandoned by friends. Some they say that Afghan people, they do not need democracy, or maybe they do not want democracy. Maybe the Taliban had the support of the people. Let me tell you something concretely with full confidence. This is absolutely lie. Let's not forget 4th of April 2014. The people of Afghanistan on 4th of April 2014 proved to the world that we love democracy, that we want democracy, that we sacrifice for democracy, to the point that Mr. Barack Obama came on the TV and said that today is the day that Afghanistan and Afghan people showed that all of our investment for democracy, it was not in vain, that they truly believe in it. 5th of April 2014. That is the day that Afghan people from all around the country went and voted despite the threats of the Taliban. And many, they had their hands cut off because they didn't want them to go to vote, but they did. So now our freedom, our voice in making our own government and being able to decide for our own future, and our women being able to go to school, being able to work, being able to make a living, and many other things have been completely stripped away from them. However, on the other hand, this is the dangerous part. Because of this economic pressure, because of these pressures, many other terrorist groups are enjoying that this situation is making people to have no choice but to sign up for them and to work for them.
Switch words today.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, hello. I'm Emma Sofia from Sweden, Swedish newspaper.
Nice to meet you.
I have two questions actually. I was wondering about the resistance within Afghanistan right now, if it exists, and how you support it, etc. And more concretely, the support that you expect from Europe, the European Union countries. If you could elaborate on that.
Sure, thank you very much. The first questions. Is there any resistance? Absolutely. The resistance in Afghanistan exists in many shape and form. We have the resistance of the men of Afghanistan who saw after the Taliban takeover and rejected any talks and their dominance through the battle of gun, they went to the mountains, they started the military and armed resistance as the last resort when they had no other option to defend themselves. We had one of the major, if not the major resistance of Afghanistan, which is the resistance of women of Afghanistan, that they protested in many different cities of Afghanistan, that they protested in the many cities around the globe, and they raised their voice. We had the resistance of many press figures who inside Afghanistan, they put their life in danger to send the right messages that what's happening inside. We have the resistance of the politicians of Afghanistan, that they refuse to go and join the Taliban and they stick together. So we have many shape and form of resistance as of now in Afghanistan. And why it is important and why it has not grown, let's say, to the level that we want. There are a few factors. First, due to the lack of support, the resistance of people in Afghanistan did not grow exponentially. And also due to the brutal behavior of the Taliban. For example, you all know that the women of Afghanistan who protested on the street, they were being captured by Taliban, jailed by Taliban, tortured by Taliban, raped by Taliban. And no one came to their support. So that became a very demoralizing factor, that they felt completely abandoned, that they are in the hand of evil, that if they raise their voice, is they're going to destroy them. So they had no choice but to protest in silence, to cover their faces, to protest from their homes. And that is still continuing to this day. The armed resistance, which we decided to do as the last resort, when we had no choice. Let's not forget that I tried to talk to the Taliban for many weeks before the war broke out between us. Let's talk, let's negotiate, let's speak about the future of Afghanistan. We do not want war, we do not want another cycle of war in Afghanistan. Afghanistan people need peace. The Taliban had one message to me: surrender. That's it. I talked to many of their leaders, I sent many delegations, I even asked the regional and international friends to intervene to prevent war, which they did, and the Taliban refused. So, and they attacked just the way that ISIS attacked Kobani. You have evidence, and the Ambassador David Martinon also reposted it on his Twitter. You saw the war crimes Taliban committed in Panjshir and Darab and Khost. You saw how they were dealing with the women, and you saw how they were taking and forcing people to leave their houses, and they are taking it. However, with all of that, with zero support from one valley, now we have expanded to 12 provinces of Afghanistan. Out of 34, we are in 12 of them, in just a span of 2 years, with no help from outside. After 2 years of fighting with them, I can tell you completely in confidence and with full confidence, Taliban do possess military vulnerability. It is possible to create a stalemate through a military pressure on the Taliban. It is very much possible. And the reason I'm doing is coming to the second, how European countries are helping. I need to thank all of you, and I need to thank the European people and their country governments for your constant support and humanitarian aid, and also for accepting the people of Afghanistan as a refugee. However, I propose one thing. How many more millions of Afghans can we accept? Can you accept? How many more millions can you send in humanitarian aid? In my opinion, these are some tactical, these are some short-term solutions. What we are proposing is a long-term solution, and we have an example. In 90s, when the Taliban came in power, yes, we had some external immigration, but the biggest immigration was internally, because we had territories under the rule of Ahmad Massoud, my father, which was democratic, and girls could go to school, and women could work, and they could live in peace and harmony with each other. So the people came to his territory instead of going outside. Right now, they are going outside because there is no hope inside, because there is no help. At that time, Ahmad Massoud received help, and this time, we have been told by our democratic friends that we do not support you, give in to the will of Taliban. So how Europe can help? Politically they can help us. Militarily they can help us. Financially they can help us. To create hope inside Afghanistan, to bring enough pressure so the Taliban are ready for a meaningful talk. And 2 years it showed that any engagement with Taliban, any pleasing policy toward Taliban, it is not working. We need to create leverage, and I strongly believe women of Afghanistan, resistance of people of Afghanistan, and opposition of the Taliban are the point and keys for Europe and the region and the world to use as a leverage, to support as a leverage to end this and to bring peace.
Vice President of the Representation Iranian opposition media.
MashaAllah. خیلی خوشحالم ازش.
You prefer I talk with you in Persian?
Well, let's go English so everyone can understand.
Hello. What do you think about the country around Afghanistan or the government? For example, Republic Islamic, you think it's like you more from Taliban? Because yesterday some people in Kabul, he put the fire in the embassy of Republic Islamic. And second question, only in the September, 2 million people Afghanistan go in Iraq.
Yes.
What's your opinion?
Sure. It is just, once again, it proves the point that we just made. That the Taliban could not make the country the way for its people to live in. But they created the country in a way for terrorists to come in and live and enjoy it. And one thing which I think Mr. Saikhal, the head of our political wing, to mention in one point which I've forgotten, I need to emphasize on how Europe can help. They must define and they must address and they must recognize the gender apartheid which is happening in Afghanistan. And this is very, very important to come to this. Let's not forget one of the things that right now it is happening, it is to simplifying the war in Afghanistan and pointing at very weak reasons for why the war continues in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the war in Afghanistan and the problems in Afghanistan in the past 50 years, it has never been internal issue. It's always the regional conflict, it's always the international conflict which shows its face in Afghanistan. So in the past 20 years, it was not just the Taliban, it was Taliban alongside international terrorists, alongside the criminal network of the world, the narcotic network, alongside the regional powers who were not happy with the presence of NATO in Afghanistan, that they waged war. So it was not as simple as say that, okay, it was only the Taliban. And one of the main reasons for peace not being able to happen was this conflict of the region with the world, that it was not allowing for peace to happen. And many countries, in neighboring countries of Afghanistan, they did not want to participate in a meaningful peace process. However, now that that strategic threat that some regional powers they were feeling with the presence of NATO in Afghanistan, now that it is not there, as a matter of fact, they are ready to play a constructive role in building peace in Afghanistan. So therefore, it is, in my opinion, very important to engage with the region, and Europe to engage with the region for a peace process in Afghanistan, because they have been, it has proved that current situation, the first countries which is being impacted by it, it is the neighboring countries of Afghanistan, as you mentioned. We see the rise in tension and the rise in attacks in Iran. We see the rise of the immigrants going to Iran. The Pakistan, the country which had a tactical victory with the Taliban's takeover, but a strategic defeat. Because in Pakistan, the attacks, it increased from 1 and 2 a month to 90 attacks per day. Tajikistan never had attack in its soil. Just in the past 2 years, 2 months, they had 2 attacks and infiltration. So these countries are very much worried. And a political stability is the solution, and they understand. So therefore, I believe we are reaching the point that the security concerns and threats from Afghanistan cannot be solved unless we solve the political instability of Afghanistan. It can only happen by Afghanistan being able to have and possess a legitimate government. A legitimate government can only happen through a legitimate process, to be supported by the Afghans, by the region, and by international community. And that is something that we strongly believe, that we need the world cooperation with the regional countries, with the Afghan diaspora, to create a legitimate process, to be a point of pressure also on the Taliban for them to be on board, and to finally Afghanistan have a legitimate government, to be a strategic partner for the region and also for the world. That is not happening, and that is not there. That is why we see this increase of the tension and also the increase in immigration. Thank you. خالد من نصر.
ايوه
ما شاء الله. كيف حالك يا شيخ؟
عربي ما شاء الله.
أنا أفهم عربي.
But
in English, let's continue in English.
Sorry, I'll talk too bad for you to understand. My name is Khalid Salzaloul from Egypt and Middle East media. I have 3 questions in one, but just some. The first, do you meet somebody from authority, French authority, or do you want to meet somebody? How can the second question, you met in 2022 Al-Mullah Amir Khan, the minister of
Muttaqi.
Yes, you don't afraid they kill you as your father, because you are the leader of resistance for your nation. You have menace among the
threat.
Yes,
okay?
the threat.
Do you want to be president of Afghanistan to save your people or not?
Well, thank you very much. Regarding the meetings, I had lots of meetings in France, but the nature of it is let's say it's off the record. But the thing is that I came here to bring my message to whoever I can see. And I'm willing to see anyone. I'm willing to bring the message to anyone. Regarding the second question that you mentioned about Mr. Muttaqi, first and foremost, I met him after the intervention of the Iran, that there needs to be a talk between the resistance and the Taliban, which I met them in Tehran. So that was less of a threat there than of meeting them somewhere else. Second thing was that for peace in Afghanistan, I would have even meet them in their own territory. just the way that my father did at his time. For ending the war in peace, my father went to the camp of Taliban with just one bodyguard to talk to them about the ending of war and peace, which they refused. After my father left, the Taliban were very angry that they didn't use this opportunity to kill my father. That's why it didn't happen after that. This time I did this and I talked to many Talibans because I also do not fear my own life, and I would rather to give my life to see peace in my country. And I believe dialogue is very, very important. And this is something that we have always told to the Taliban. The way going forward, even in the past 20 years, is stop fighting, come and talk. Because we as humans, we should have been evolved by now to the point to be able to solve our problems through dialogue and talk. The reason I'm fighting right now, please note this point, that the reason I'm fighting is because Taliban left us no choice but to do this. It is not something that I enjoy doing it. It's something but I have no choice but to do.
We can make a negotiation with Taliban, or it's a hopeless case?
In my opinion, that should be the ultimate goal, to bring them to the table to talk. But as of now, the Taliban refusing any talk. They say we are the reality and you should accept me. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Very nice.
I tried to have contact with you several times when you have a problem, but it was difficult.
I'm sorry.
About, security, I think.
It's
you have a lot of assistants, more than 10.
Sure.
Okay. Now I would like to know: have you been in contact with Doha about negotiation? Firstly. Secondly, my colleague asked you about what you expect from Europe. I asked you about international community. What
Yes.
do you attend? And finally, what future await your country today?
Thank you. Regarding the first question that you mentioned, and once again I apologize if there was any miscommunication from our side, our apologies. Regarding the first question that you asked, if there was any contact with Doha, I have met Mr. Qahtani, the representative of that time, about almost a year ago, and they were mentioning about some ways out of the current situation. They were not happy about the current situation. However, our message was very clear that we welcome any effort by Qatar. However, the previous format is not going to work, because the previous format was between the Afghanistan government or between Americans and the Taliban, which does not apply to current situation. So the current situation requires a new format. It requires a new platform. It requires a new consensus. It requires a complete new way and path. We would welcome any effort by Doha or any other country to be the host of any talks. That's why I went to Iran when they invited me. That's why I went to Russia when they invited me. And that's why I accept any invitation if the intention is to end the conflict in Afghanistan, to find peace. I always welcome any intervention for ending the conflict and for resolution and for starting a negotiation between us and the Taliban, between the opposition and the Taliban. However, in the case of Qatar, I also welcomed any initiative, but they were pushing for the completion of the Doha Agreement. Unfortunately, in our opinion, the Doha Agreement failed. We saw that the Taliban not only didn't cut their ties with international terrorism, but Ayman al-Zawahiri was found in Kabul. We see many figures from Arab world, from Africa, from different countries. They are coming to Afghanistan for recruitment, for training, and they exist in Afghanistan. And also we see that the Taliban refused to form an inclusive government to start a legitimate process. So the Doha Agreement, unfortunately, is not going to apply for this time. But we welcome any new initiative to be started by any country. Second, about the international community, once again, I need to emphasize that opposition of Afghanistan, especially women of Afghanistan, they need any support which is possible. Anything. However, the world needs to start thinking long term. They need to stop making these short-term solutions that kind of may be the solution for just the headache. But the problem is that Afghanistan currently possesses a cancer. We cannot treat it with just antibiotic to heal the headache. We need a much deeper and much proper and long-term solution. Otherwise, the wave of immigration, otherwise this disappointment, otherwise this terrorism, it will continue. The world can only truly help Afghanistan is when Afghanistan possesses a legitimate government to be a partner and to be a member of international community. Right now, Afghanistan is not one. Thank you.
Your name and media, and then.
السلام علیکم بخیر خوب هستین شد سوال به انگلیسی بپرسید
اگر بینیدای ما به فارسی زبان است
خب باز دوستان اینجا چیز شد خیلی ترجمه میشه بگین بسم الله
بفهمید
من به فارسی بگم به انگلیسی خوش آمدید به فرانسه
تشکر سلام
واکنش شما در برابر زنان مبارز افغانستان که در این اواخر تنشان دستگیر شدن و شکنجه میشن زندانی میشن به عنوان رهبر جبهه مقاومت و همچنان در مورد قتل‌های هزارها که در روزگار در این اواخر صورت گرفته واقع شد.
تشکر.
Je vais traduire en français. Quelle est votre réaction par rapport aux beaucoup de femmes afghanes qui sont en prison maintenant, ils sont torturés et violés en prison des talibans, et aussi quelle réaction vous avez par rapport à un grand massacre du peuple hazara qui se fait maintenant par talibans?
Merci.
But for
Please answer in English.
In English, okay. Well, first and foremost, regarding the situation, women, the National Resistance Front, we have done and we have started a couple of initiatives to be able to defend and to help our sisters and our women in Afghanistan. First and foremost, it is the resistance itself. Our fighting is for their rights. Our fighting is for their liberty. Our fighting is for their freedom. Second thing we did, we have supported the families of many of those who got captured, who've been sent to jail, and they had been unfortunate to feel the wrath of the tyranny of the Taliban. And last thing we did was the support that we are giving to our sisters and the encouragement of those who are protesting and standing and representing women in Afghanistan. While we have created initiatives such as Vienna process, all right, and we participated, and not created, we have participated in initiatives such as Vienna process to be a platform to raise the awareness, to bring the awareness and raise the voice of women of Afghanistan and the international stage. At the same time, we strongly believe that we should not have hoped for the Taliban to change this stone to be out of the way of knowledge so the woman can receive it. So what we have done, we have many hidden schools We have online schools and we have online classes that we went around this rock and we got the knowledge to the girls of Afghanistan. However, this is my capacity, which is not big, it's very small. And I hope the international community help with such initiatives, that I'm just one member, there are many others who are also doing similar things. That if we cannot move this immovable object called Taliban from the way of knowledge reaching to the girls of Afghanistan, let's go around it. Now we have technology, online classes, online schools, online university. If we cannot bring girls to a school, let's take a school to girls. As simple as that. We have done that, and we have started the initiative called Every Home is a School. Regarding my brothers and sisters of Hazara, which I have always showed my solidarity with them, first and foremost, we have tried to bring the awareness and also to raise the voice of how systematically they are being targeted, just the way that women of Afghanistan are being systematically targeted in many platforms that I have been able to speak. Second thing was the unity, that I strongly believe that all ethnicity and groups of Afghanistan, they need to be united to be able to prevent such events. And last thing was that we tried to bring to have efforts and to start efforts and initiatives to defend them. I am in contact with many local leaders and Hazara communities, and I have expressed my utmost gratitude for what they do and my full support for what they can to do to be able to defend themselves. And let's not forget that it was in their full sort of confidence and their freedom that I did not impose any strategy or tactic on them. I just expressed my support to them, and I asked them, you do what you seek best is for your community to defend the Hazara sisters and brothers around Afghanistan. And that's as far as my capacity goes, but it is not a lot. We need to bring the awareness to this atrocity Taliban are committing to the whole of Afghanistan, to men and women of Afghanistan, as a united front, all of us, and present it in one stage. Thank you.
Did you see the philosophy Bernard and the lady, one of the big friends of your father?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I know Bernard. Yeah. He's Bernard has been very vocal about the situation in Afghanistan, and we appreciate his remarks, because he's one of the very few who read very rightly what is happening in Afghanistan, who, unlike some friends who been misguided by the fact that they believe Taliban have changed, Bernard was one of the big names and faces who truly knew their true nature.
Did you ask the meeting with French government?
With who?
The meeting with?
Did you ask meeting the French government?
Oh, meeting with French government.
Oh.
Did you request meeting?
Well, I'm here. If French government wants to see me, I'm available.
Okay. Gideon, Israeli newspaper.
I'm Gideon Coates, representing Israeli media. I think we met already at the forum in Normandy. I would like to ask you, let's speak about the future.
Mm-hmm.
When hopefully you will be in power, and let's hope it will happen. Would you support the integration of Afghanistan in regional or trans-regional projects like those proposed today, including Israel? And would you support relations with Israel?
Thank you. First and foremost, about the power that you mentioned also, our friend in here said that, do you want to be a president? I believe I just want to see my country free of this tyranny, and I want to see that girls and boys of Afghanistan from different ethnicity and background can live in harmony, peace with each other, under a democratic umbrella. This is my dream, and no, I do not want to be president, and I believe that will be the decision of the government of Afghanistan to decide at that time. However, I strongly believe that we are living in an era that humanity needs to get together, to get past conflicts, and to live in harmony and peace with each other. And we are living in a connected world that, unfortunately, if there is an event like the conflict which is happening in Palestine, and which is happening in Israel, which is happening in Africa, which is happening in Afghanistan, which is happening in Yemen, it is going to harm all of us. It is going to be harmful for all of us. So therefore, I strongly believe that resolutions and solutions and dialogues should be the main goal and the main objective. And peace is something which probably the world should see it from us, that it is very dear and it's very valuable. Thank you.
Spanish colleague.
I have one question. Is you speak in your book about how the situation in Afghanistan is poisoning the situation in Africa. Can you develop a little more? And are you going to Spain to see the government or some people there?
Thank you very much. Well, I can say I'm a semi-athletic person. I love sport, and I love Real Madrid. I'm a Madridista, so there is that sort of from a sport point of view, a fan of Spain, a fan of Madrid. Well, although that I love Zinedine Zidane, and not any offense to our French friends in here. Regarding the question that you had about the link between the Africans terrorists in Afghanistan, let's just say that Boko Haram, some years ago, if you remember, they called themselves the Taliban of Africa. They renamed some areas under their control Kandahar, Ghazni, and such names. So you can clearly see the links, and many terrorist groups like Boko Haram and Shabab and many others, they congratulate them. Publicly, they congratulate the Taliban for their victory. Absolutely, the Taliban's return to power, and especially the negotiation of Americans with them, it had elevated the terrorists around the globe. This is absolutely true. So therefore, the link is very much there. About Spain, once again I say, I welcome any effort by any country. No country is too small for me, and no country is too big. I welcome any effort, and I would knock on the door of any country to bring the message and to be able to help my people. Because I believe we are in a very critical situation. If I can be an ambassador, because one thing is that I'm no leader, I'm just a messenger of my people and messenger of those boys who are fighting in the mountains to defend their rights, and those girls who are being put in jail, I'm just a messenger of them. Thank you.
My name is Michel Setgoul. I'm a photojournalist.
Yeah.
I know Afghanistan since 1970. I think you cannot talk about Afghanistan if you don't know the story on the long term.
Yes.
I was there with Dawood, Taraki, Najibullah, Amin.
Yes.
I was in jail. I was also there with the Taliban.
Yeah.
I was there when your father attacked the city. Then I have a question, I have some remarks.
Mm-hmm.
My main remark is to say, the Afghan politicians, they had 20 years. Yeah. During 20 years, they could change the situation in Afghanistan. Before, you have to remember, you know, the Taliban were there 20 years ago. It's just a return, you know, it's a result of 20 years of corruption, hypocrisy, and all the fight among the political leaders of Afghanistan. It's just a result. Today we talk about, we use words we like to hear in France, in Europe, like freedom, women, all that shit, you know. But the problem is a social problem. You have to remember, you were lucky enough to study in university.
Yes.
You were very lucky. You have to remember all these Taliban people. No, but at the end I will come.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's important.
I like such remarks, and I have very good answers.
It's not against you, you know.
No, I understand.
They didn't have the chance to study in university. They had no choice. The only choice was to go to madrasa in Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Which I disagree.
And this is the responsibility of the leaders of Afghanistan. You have no one behind you. All the guys have left to Tajikistan and other place like that. And today we have the same shit, you know. We're talking about what? My question today is, what do you think about the decision of the president of USA to give the money of Afghanistan back to the people, I mean the victim of 9/11? I was also in New York under the towers 9/11, okay?
Yes.
What do you think about that? Nobody said anything about that, and it's just, I mean, I don't know what to call that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, now I welcome such remarks, and I thank you. If I may, why I'm here, this is absolutely naive to think that the problems of Afghanistan is a problem of Afghans only. Unfortunately, we have been located around some regional powers in a hotspot that always the superpowers, they fought, and it showed their fight in Afghanistan. Let me tell you something. We have always been Muslims. But why this fanatic and this extremism is powerful now? It's because they are a very good tool for geopolitical games of superpowers. They've been used against the Soviets, and in the past 20 years, the other country used it against the NATO. Second thing, about what you said that those Taliban, they didn't have an opportunity to study. No one told me to go and study. No one sent me to go to study. I have pushed myself to learn and to study in this path. Yes, I was fortunate to be able to do it. In the past 20 years, let's never say that, okay, the Taliban didn't have opportunity to study. They had the equal right, like any other areas of Afghanistan, to be able to study and to learn. They chose this path. Yes, I feel sorry for many of those young boys who have been taken and they have been put into these madrasas to turn into these monsters. Which that's why I came here to warn that now the Taliban are creating thousands of these factories to create more monsters. However, the past 20 years, the past 50 years, the wars of Afghanistan was never the wars of Afghans. It was the wars of the region, it was the wars of superpowers. That is why I came here, that we have been living in peace with each other. Since the world was divided and the Cold War resulted into these conflicts in my country, please help us now and end these regional rivalry and the international rivalry over my country, and help us to reach a meaningful peace. All right. About the other thing that you mentioned, that okay, America is giving Afghanistan money to the victims of 9/11. Name one Afghan citizen who participated in the 9/11. So this is the thing. This is why when I say we are the victim of the Cold War, you should believe me. This is why when I say we are the victim of terrorism, you You should believe me. This is why when I say we are the victim of regional rivalry and international rivalry, you should believe that unfortunately, the decision that Mr. Biden made with giving the funds of people of Afghanistan, the assets of people of Afghanistan to the 9/11 victims, it is not the first mistake he made. He made a lot of mistakes during his reign. So therefore, that is my remark on that. Regarding the Taliban, my dear brother, you could not be more wrong about their positions, about their mentality, about the opportunities, because yes, let me tell you something. Yes, the government of Afghanistan was corrupt. There was a lot of corruption. Which country does not have corruption? Which country does not have corruption? I'm sure in France there's a lot of corruption. I'm sure in Germany and America there's a lot of corruption. Americans, they said.
Not at this level.
No.
I'm sorry to
No, let me tell you.
I want something to add.
No, let me tell you.
20 years, you know, the total illiteracy in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
was in at the beginning when the democracy take over was 63. After 20 years, it's 57.
Okay.
57. That means 20 years.
No, that's actually not a good statistic, because that is wrong, absolutely wrong, because before the democracy takeover, it was 30-something percent, 20-something, and after that it increased. Now, the highest we had was 43%.
For UNESCO.
Now, so that is the strongest statistic. When I say about the corruption is everywhere. Yes, in Afghanistan it was high. For example, Americans, they said a couple of months ago that from the helps we did to Ukraine, $6 billion is missing. We don't know, there's a surplus, but we don't know where is it, right? So such corruptions on events is happening. And even the Ukrainian government admitted that there is some corruption, right? And so Afghanistan was a war zone. Let's not forget that. Now, however, yes, we had a corrupted government, but we had education for girls. We had freedom of press. We had election. We had institution. We had women's right. We had human right. We had a legitimate government, and we had hope. Right. So why always in the West they look at it and they see just one thing? So if you think that corruption is an issue, the most incorruptible government in the world is North Korea. The safest country in the world is North Korea. I dare anyone to go and steal one apple if they can find it. So please do not make these sort of examples, because yes, we had one issue, but we had 100 good benefits too. Let's not forget that. About the differences among the politicians.
Tell them that you were not part of the government.
Which I was not. I'm not defending anything. I was not ever a part of it. However, there's one thing. I always defend the Afghanistan army, the investment that all of us together, we paid with our money, with our sweat, with our blood. How many French people they died in Afghanistan to defend democracy? Let's not forget their blood. How many Europeans, Americans, and thousands of Afghans? I can never forget their sacrifices, right? And we are a very grateful nation. This is why I need to emphasize that sometimes it's very naive to think, okay, Afghanistan government had one issue, but there were a lot of other qualities too. Regarding the division among politicians, I ask you to show me one example that this sort of difference in opinion, this division, have resulted into a coup, have resulted into a military conflict. All the politicians of Afghanistan, all the leaders of different ethnicity of Afghanistan, they had a lot of opinion, but all of them stick to that constitution, and they stick to a legitimate path to show their differences and their belief, and that was through election and through a democratic process like election. Unlike the Taliban, which were the only group which picked guns and open the doors of Afghanistan to terrorism. So please, like when we are speaking of Afghanistan, there's a lot of issue that, yes, unfortunately we are responsible, but there were a lot that it is regional, international. Yes, we had some issues like corruption and other stuff, but at the same time we have many other qualities too. So it's a very complicated situation, not that easy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Carlo Bocchiarini, RCS Media Group, Italy. I'm sorry to ask you this question.
No, please.
But, you choose till now the way of diplomacy, the way of dialogue, but you have had also military education in England. Are you ready in the future, if the things goes worse, to take also the leadership of the guerrilla and take guns, or not?
Well,
I repeat, I'm sorry to ask.
No. Well, thank you very much. Well, I think that I need to send you my CV, and also I need to send you what I have been doing in the past 2 years. We have been fighting, and we have been fighting.
You personally?
Me personally, this is the thing, that I'm the leader of the resistance, and we have our military leadership inside Afghanistan. I will never take credit for those boys and girls who are fighting as of now inside Afghanistan. I'm their messenger, as I mentioned before. And they are fighting, and I was there till the point that it was the decision of the military committee for me that I can serve better outside Afghanistan, because if I was inside Afghanistan, all my resources would be exhausted on protecting me, and the forces would not be able to do their job. And they said, until the opportunity is right, we will tell you when to come inside. We want you to do the job from outside and to be the messenger outside and to organize everything. So this is the thing, and that's one thing which is different between us and the Taliban. The Taliban leadership, the whole time they were outside Afghanistan, but they didn't have the decency and the courage to call it and to say it. But the thing is that I'm no Taliban, I'm no terrorist, and I can clearly say that this is my job and this is what we do, and this is because of our rights.
J'arrive, j'ai eu du mal à trouver. Bonjour.
Deux dernières questions, s'il vous plaît. Deux dernières questions. Vous n'avez pas posé de questions, vous avez le droit. Attends. Allez-y.
I have two basic questions. What is the situation today in terms of meaning of the Front de Résistance Nationale locally?
Yeah.
And do you think really that the way of resolution of the situation goes through talks with the Taliban today?
Thank you. The situation that we are having, as I explained earlier, we started from just Panjshir Valley. We have expanded to 12 provinces as of now, and this is not, don't take it from me, and maybe you call it that he's being biased. Of course I will be biased, but take it from the UNAMA report, that they have also confirmed that yes, the NRF has actually expanded to 12 provinces of Afghanistan, and take into consideration that we have achieved this milestone with zero help from outside. Zero help. It's only based on the generosity of the people of Afghanistan. Regarding the talks, I strongly believe any conflict around the globe, if it's Ukraine, if it's Palestine, if it's anywhere, I strongly believe that the conflicts around the globe should always end through dialogues and talks. That we should, as humankind, be more intellectual to solve our issues through talks and dialogues than war. Why I'm fighting? Because the Taliban have little choice. They refuse to talk and dialogue and negotiate. So I strongly believe yes. However, and I have examples that Taliban, we are able to put enough pressure on them to bring them to the table. And I strongly believe it is possible. However, we need to add the pressure, and we need international and regional help to do so. Thank you very much.
Can I ask the last question?
Sure.
Valentina from freelance journalist from Italy.
I think that the solution for Afghanistan can be found with Occidental countries. But what about Arabic countries? In your opinion, do you think you have real allies on Arabic countries to fight with you on Afghanistan?
Thank you very much. I strongly believe that the trajectory, for example, some Arab countries such as Saudi Arabia is taking, it is a trajectory which is truly indicating that a progressive thinking, it's a trajectory of progressive Islam, progressive thinking. It's a right trajectory, in my opinion. That unfortunately, in the past few decades, the world was always seeing my religion and our region always as the Taliban, ISIS, this and that. And that trajectory, that change, it is very much welcome. This is very much needed. So therefore, I believe the Taliban are against that, that belief, and we share the same values, we share the same principles, and Arabic countries definitely can help a lot. However, I need to emphasize that as of now, unfortunately, we don't see any meaningful steps toward this. I hope that they also bring their attention to the situation in Afghanistan to be able to participate and to help. In terms of political or military allies, maybe we are not military allies. However, on political and on those principles and values, we are very much alike. Yes. Thank you very much.
Une dernière question, s'il vous plaît.
May I?
Last question, please.
May I, please?
Yes, sure.
I'm very sorry to be late.
No,
I'm
no.
Wilma Bernardo Lagric, and we gave for many years money to your father to buy vans to take girls from the mountain down to the valley,
Yes.
in order to go to school.
Yes.
I would like to know, this girl are not going anymore to school, I suppose.
Yes. Unfortunately, it is true that the girls that in the past 20 years they studied, they became doctors, they became engineers,
Yes,
they
of course.
became many other, they had many other professions. Unfortunately, right now the Taliban are blocking them from education,
Everywhere.
from work, everywhere. There's a gender apartheid in Afghanistan, which we hope the international community, especially Europe, recognize it, because it is happening right now in Afghanistan, and it's very unfortunate. Yes.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for